But the promise of Jesus is twofold. First off, it's a promise that he was here, that his Holy Spirit has come, and then that one day he is preparing a city for us that is in fact perfect, where everything has been made perfect. And in faith, we live our lives inside of all those promises, that Jesus was who he said he was, that he sent his Spirit to be with us, and that one day, everything that has been wronged, everything that has been bad, no matter how good things could be here, we live in this moment that things will in fact be better one day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 180 podcast. Today's message is brought to you by myself, Cole Thompson. Hope you enjoy and that you are blessed through the Word of God today.
So the next 4 weeks, we are going to talk about faith. All right? 4 weeks. All right? And I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the layout so you know what to look forward to. You're so excited, I can tell. Here's the layout. Tonight, we're going to talk about, hey, listen up. I'm not going to talk very long, guys. Tonight, we're just going to talk about what faith is, why it's important. And then the next 3 weeks, we're going to talk about 3 questions. I thought about this. I think the Lord maybe spoke to me on this a couple weeks ago when Jeff was speaking. And it was actually before Jeff was even speaking. We were in prayer, and I wrote down these 3 questions. And then Jeff went on to pose those 3 questions throughout his sermon. So I was like, okay, Lord, I see what you're doing. These are the 3 questions we're going to ask, and I think they're all super important faith questions. Okay, we're going to ask, are you real? So we're going to ask the Lord, are you real? We're going to ask him, are you present? And we're going to ask, are you good? Okay, so over the next 3 weeks, we're going to talk about that. But all 3 of those things pertain to faith. Okay, in this whole series, we're going to root in Hebrews chapter 11, specifically verse 1. Whoa, Sadie got really excited. Okay, specifically verse 1, but tonight we're going to actually teach just out of Hebrews chapter 11. So if you have a Bible, you can go ahead and get yourself there. Hebrews chapter 11. That's the next couple weeks. Tonight, we're just talking about faith. Okay, so we're setting up. Okay, so Hebrews chapter 11, starting in verse 1. Now, faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. Everyone say that with me. Now, faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. Okay, before I even start talking any more about this, let me just go ahead and preface with saying you can only explain faith so much, and you can only explain so much about Jesus, and at a certain point, knowledge runs out and faith has to take over. Okay, guys, so at a certain point, you just have to believe something. All right, verse 2. This is what the ancients were commended for. Verse 3, by faith we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. Verse 4, but by faith, Abel brought God a better offering than Cain did. By faith, he was commended as righteous when God spoke well of his offering. And by faith, Abel still speaks, even though he is dead. Verse 5, by faith, Enoch was taken from this life so that he did not experience death. He could not be found because God had taken him away. For before he was taken, he was commended as one who pleased God. Verse 6, and without faith, it is impossible to please God because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. Verse 7, by faith, Noah, when warned about things not yet seen, in holy fear, built an ark to save his family. By his faith, he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness that is in keeping with faith. Verse 8, this is the last little story. By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. And by faith, he made his home in the promised land like a stranger in a foreign country. He lived in tents and did Isaac and Jacob, who were heirs with him to the same promise. For he was looking forward to the city with foundations, whose architect and builder is God. And by faith, even Sarah, who was past childbearing age, was enabled to bear children because she considered him faithful who made the promise. And so from this one man, and he, as good as dead, came descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as countless as the sands on the seashore. Verse 13, last one we'll read for now. All these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance, admitting that they were foreigners and strangers on earth. Pause right there. Just read a lot, right, guys? It's a lot to say. Whew. Okay, that was a lot. But here's why I did so much. Here's why we read so much. Because I think it is important. This is, whenever you talk about faith in any kind of church circle, this is undoubtedly one of the chapters in the Bible that will get brought up. Hebrews chapter 11. And in Hebrews chapter 11, the writer, we don't know who it is, but the writer goes through this list of like heroes of faith. He goes on in even more detail after this, okay? And there's a couple of things that I want us to know. Okay, whenever we have faith, it does a couple of things to us. Okay, there are signs that we have faith, and they're a result of the faith that we have. So go ahead and put up the list you got up there. Next one. I think it's the next one, William. I'm really not 100% certain. There we go. So whenever we have faith, here's a couple of things that it does for us. First off, it gives us belief. All right, belief in who Jesus is. Okay, sacrifice. This is all pulled straight from what we just read. You can go back and cross-reference me. Sacrifice. In verse 4, we talked about how Abel was able to bring a better sacrifice because of faith. Faith causes us to sacrifice. Okay, verse 5 and 6, it gives us a closeness with the Lord. Verse 7 talked about Noah. It gives us obedience. Verses 8 through 12 talks about how it gives us trust, boldness, and the hope of a promise. Okay? These are all things that faith directly gives us. Here's the first point that I have for you, okay? Faith is not based on results. All right, go back to the other one. Go back to the other one, William. Gosh, William back there, golly. You know what's funny? You know what's funny is that William was like, I'm way too slow, and he just went too fast. So he's like, I go through the slides too slow, but not tonight. All right, 5, 4. Huh? When you have faith. Okay, ready? Moving right along. If you don't have it, ask your neighbor. They have it. Okay. So, first thing, faith is not based on results. Okay. So, verse 13. Again, what we just read. All these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance, admitting that they were foreigners and strangers on earth. Okay, let me just give some random examples of what I mean here. Faith is not based on results. Oftentimes what we do is we think, you know what, I'll trust you, Lord, if you X, Y, and Z, right? Whatever it is. Or we think, I trust this because of this. Great example. I trust my car because it has gotten me from here to home many, many times, right? That's what I expect it to do, and that's what it does. Okay, but true faith in Jesus is not something that is based on the results of what's happening. Okay, it's not based on what's happening. Let me give some examples. I'll give you 12 random stories, okay? They're short, okay? First one, this dude lived a long life, served the Lord. He was stoned to death and then beheaded. Next guy lived a not so long life, was crucified, and possibly sawed in half. Next guy lived not such a long life, was killed with arrows and or a battle axe. We really aren't sure. Okay? Next guy also did not live a quite long life, was stoned and clubbed to death. Going so far. Okay, ready? You're like, wow, this is so uplifting. Next one was killed by either, this is exciting, a sword or a fire. We're unsure. Okay, these are all real people, BT dubs. Okay, next one, this one is particularly good. He was filleted alive.
Via fire?
Flayed alive, like you fillet a fish.
Ew, fuck. Wait, I just thought about that.
Flayed alive. Next guy, also unsure. He was either crucified or stoned. So nice. They like to mix it up a little bit. Next one, beheaded. 100% confident in that one. The next one was crucified in Greece. The next one died at an old age. Guys, let's just give it up for that guy. He just made it. He died of an old age. Okay. And last but not least, we have crucified upside down. Extra special. Okay. So all the blood. Fun fact, he would have actually lived longer because blood would have stayed in his vital organs longer. Fun fact. Okay, guys? If you haven't guessed already, Josie already guessed where I'm going with this. Those 12 people that I just described were the 12 disciples, okay? Excluding Judas. It was Matthias was put in that list who replaced Judas after Judas hung himself, Okay. Judas, in fact, hung himself. Fun fact. Okay. So here's why I say that. Okay. Here's why I say that. Those are the 12 guys that literally lived with Jesus, started like the largest movement in the history of ever, that continues on to this day. And the faith that they had did not bring them to a happy, beautiful kingdom on earth. Okay, the faith that they had literally caused all of them except for John somehow. I don't know how he did it, but he got away. Like, he lived a long life. I mean, it was kind of a rough life. Huh?
Don't worry, he got boiled in water and just didn't kill him.
Yeah, I mean, he went through some stuff. Okay? he did have plot armor, okay? He went through some stuff. He just didn't die, okay? But listen, again, faith is not based on results, all right? So often whenever we start to learn about Jesus and we maybe start to follow him, we think, oh my gosh, my life is going to get so much better. Everything's going to go perfectly. I'm just going to live in the year of the Lord's favor. It's going to be so good, okay? But listen, so often we try and base our faith off of our circumstances, and we cannot do that, okay? We cannot do that. All right, go ahead and put my second thing up there. This is like a sub-point. This is an observation, okay? This doesn't mean we won't see God do things in our life. Okay, here's what's really odd and interesting as you read through this. Again, talking about faith. All of these people, okay, that were in Hebrews. So you got Abel, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Enoch. All of these different people saw the Lord do something in their life. Okay, they all saw something. Okay, if you don't know, Abel was killed by his brother. Yeah, by Cain. But he saw the Lord's favor because of his sacrifices. Abraham actually died like a rich old man. Okay? And he kind of looked like he would have had almost everything. And then Enoch is actually kind of really crazy. He never even died. He just went home with Jesus. That's crazy. Okay? I know, good for him. Noah, right? Noah was spared, whereas everyone else in the world was not because of his faith. So all these people saw things. But here's what's confusing about this to me. Okay, we get to verse 13 in our passage again, and this is what it says. All these people were still living by faith and they died. They did not receive the things promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance, admitting that they were foreigners and strangers on earth. So now I'm going to read on through verse 14. I think I have these passages somewhere. Are they in there? Did you put them in? To 16? Wow, she's just awesome. All right, so 14. People who say such things show that they are looking for a country of their own. If they had been thinking of the country they had left, they would have had opportunity to return. Instead, they were longing for a better country, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. That's kind of an exciting thing. Okay, so again, how would I sum that up? My third thing I have for you tonight. Okay, faith is the belief and realization that things only get better. Here's what I'm saying with that. Let me explain. You're like, Cole, you're contradicting yourself. You just said that we're all going to die terrible deaths. Then you said we're going to get promises and everything's going to go well. Here's where I'm going with this, okay? All of the disciples on earth had a pretty rough life. But the promise of Jesus is twofold. First off, it's a promise that he was here, that his Holy Spirit has come, and then that one day he is preparing a city for us that is in fact perfect, where everything has been made perfect. And in faith, we live our lives inside of all those promises, that Jesus was who he said he was, that he sent his Spirit to be with us, and that one day, everything that has been wronged, everything that has been bad, no matter how good things could be here, we live in this moment that things will in fact be better one day. Put my last point up there. Okay? Whatever we see on earth is nothing compared to heaven. Again, all of those different stories, not the disciples, but all the people that were mentioned in this passage, okay, they actually saw some cool things happen in their life. All right? With the smallest of that being Abel. But, anyway, he saw some good things. He saw the favor of the Lord. Okay? And all these people saw good things. And yet, at verse 13, it said, but they did not get all that was promised to them. And it almost leaves us in this space of like, they were gypped or they were cheated out of what was really promised. But again, we live in a space where faith, okay, is in who Jesus was and in what heaven will be, right? So as we go through the next several weeks and we talk about, Jesus, are you real? Are you present? Are you good? We know that our faith starts in that point of, was Jesus who he said he was? And then heaven will be as good as he said it would be. Hebrews 12:2 is my last passage, and then we'll go on. Hebrews 12:2. Fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. One more time. Fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Last thought, and then I'll let y'all go. Okay, it's not a point or anything. This passage, this is a chapter after what we read, okay? Jesus laid out the same thing that I just said, okay? He's the pioneer and perfecter of our faith, and for the joy set before him, he endured the cross, okay? For the joy of what was to come, he endured the cross, what it was. Go to small groups.
I hope that the Lord spoke to you through the teaching of his word today. If so, leave us a comment and let us know. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of our content in the future. Have a blessed day.